So I must have missed this over the summer, but apparently shape key drivers became a lot easier to set up. If you remember back in the olden times, before 6 months ago, if you wanted to set up a shape key driver, you had to do your bone movement like that. You had to make your shape key and then shape it around the movement. And then the old way you would do it is that you would right click and do add driver. And if you went over to your drivers panel, you had to give the equation basically by setting the object and then setting the bone and basically setting it up to trigger in the way that you wanted it to trigger. And if you had multiple bones or multiple axes going on at the same time, it got tricky. But we don't have to do that anymore because now there's an extension called pose shapes. So if you go under preferences and go to get extensions and look up pose shape keys, you'll want to install that. And then after you install it, go to add-ons and then make sure it's enabled. So what did this do? Well, now if you go over to the shape keys section, there's this new pose shapes tab. And so what you're going to want to do is you'll create your action. So go to the rig and go to the action editor, and we can create a new action. Let's call this brow down .l, and let's set some shape keys and get our bone into the position that we want it. So if I move this down, let's see, something like that, that'll be good. Now, if you go over to the pose shapes, I'm going to set the keyframe on frame 10 of the position that we want the shape to be in. If I go to pose shapes and do add, call this brow down .l, you create the pose shape and you can load in your action. If you click that button, it does automatically whichever one is enabled already. You want to make sure the frame is set to the frame that is the max position. So whenever the shape key is fully enabled, it will be at this frame. And then for that to be the case, you hit set pose. Once that's done, you'll want to hit save pose mesh. And when you do that, it's going to create a duplicate of that mesh in the posed position. And this duplicate is what you're going to do your shape key or sculpt on. So they do this to get all the clutter out of the way. And if we come over here, we can start shaping our brow position into what we want it to be. So for example, the brow itself gets too thin here. It's making like this weird sharp line, and we don't want that. We want it to have a little bit of thickness to it. It's losing its volume, so we're gonna shape that. Maybe bring out some of this. So we want to preserve the volume. We want to add a crease. I have this mirrored enabled accidentally, so let me uncheck that. Some of those vertices moved, but we can fix that. So I want to get like this nice crease shape. So I think I want this pinching. What about that? And you'd want to tweak with the pose a little bit more. This is just a demonstration, but you'd really want to fine tune these shapes. But anyway, after your pose is in a position that you like, we're going to go back to our main mesh, and we're going to scroll down here to shape key slots and create a new slot. And once we do that, it's going to create a new target shape key that's tied to this mesh. And so now if we hit overwrite shape key, you're going to see the shape key enable. And let's say after we see it on the mesh, we change our mind and we're like, this brow needs a little more of like this high shape or something. It's got to do something funky. We just go over here and then hit overwrite mesh again, and then it will update. But we don't want that. Actually, let's go back to this mesh because I tweaked with this brow and I didn't want to do that. So this is an unrelated bonus tip. If you moved vertices and you want to reset them, you just select the vertices and then you go up to vertex and click blend from shape, and you can just select the basis and uncheck add. And if you see there, that will just reset all of those vertices to the base position without any shape key. Anyway, back to the actual tutorial. This is the exciting part. Once we have that into position, you can delete this mesh, by the way. Once we have that into position, you just go over here. So this little squiggly line right here, if you hit that and then hit OK, we want the left side, but you can just mirror this and do it on the right. It will automatically create a driver, which means now as I move this brow bone up and down, that shape key will automatically enable. And if we go over to our drivers panel, you can see it automatically filled in the expressions and the settings that we wanted. If you've not done much rigging, maybe you don't see the hype, but I, for one, am very excited about this. Her brow gains some volume as it goes down, so that shape would need to be tweaked. Subscribe, please.